A lot of changes have been coming to Lord of the Rings Rise to War, not the least of which is a brand new ring skill tree. A lot of people on Discord have been asking my thoughts on new ring builds and the new ring skill tree in general. So if you want an overview of how the new ring skill tree works, as well as my initial thoughts, stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. For those of you that are still currently in a season right now, the new skill tree will not be available to you until you start a new season. I just wanted to point that out before we really dive into things. Now, the ring is a bit more straightforward, which in my opinion is not a great change. It might be a good change for most people, however, I do want to throw that out there. However, I'm the type of person that loves to min-max and get down into the nitty-gritty math with spreadsheets, so I'm a little bit disappointed by the removal of some player choice. But in the beginning of the game, you will only be able to invest points into the top left. Once you hit ring level 10, you unlock the top right skills here. And then at ring level 30, you can put points into the bottom right skills. And finally, at ring level 50, you unlock your final skill tree. We'll go ahead and take a look at the early game ring skills. We have a brand new ability called Extract. I kind of glossed over Dominance. It is exactly the same as it used to be, and you are restricted at which ring levels you're allowed to put points into Dominance. Do keep an eye on this, as this is like the best ring skill in the game. Anyways, we have Extract, which is pretty much a worse harvest. You immediately gain resources from a tile of your choice. However, it is less resources than you would gain if you were to harvest on that tile. However, you cannot harvest right at the beginning of a season. In my opinion, Extract is going to be redundant very early on, as I would much rather wait an extra 30 minutes to get my resources than have them immediately in like 99% of cases. Because this is a relatively slow-paced game. Waiting 30 minutes for more resources is almost always going to be better, I think, than immediately having resources. There might be some times that you want to extract and get something going right away, like if you're about to go to bed or something and you want to start a new upgrade. I suppose it could be useful for that. We have another new ability, Time Out of Time. This allows you to finish construction immediately when the construction time is less than 10 minutes, and we have Abundant Might and Abundant Wisdom, just like we used to have. So in the very beginning of the game, these are the only skill points that you are allowed to take. Once you hit ring level 10, you have Enormous Power, aka Control. This increases your max ability points and will also increase the rate at which they refresh, because you gain whatever your max amount of ability points is. You gain that every 24 hours. It doesn't say that here, but if we go out real quick and click on this, ability points are gradually recovered over time, 100% every 24 hours. So that is still the same. And then after you're able to put points into Enormous Power, you are able to unlock Gather. This is the same as it used to be, where you just pick a tile, send a commander there, and you gain resources. It will still take 30 minutes and also use 3 ability points. I think once you unlock this, you're pretty much never going to extract anymore, because in both cases, they take 3 ability points. You just have to wait 30 minutes for your resources with this one, whereas you don't for the other one. Then we have Abundant Stone, Grain, Wood, and Ore, the same as they used to be. You're probably not going to be taking these in the early game, as the percent production increase is going to be pretty minimal when you don't have a bunch of really good tiles. And we do have another brand new ability called Clairvoyance. This one I think will see some use. You get to essentially scout for free, well, for ability points, the defensive armies that are on a tile. I think this will see some use when you initially start taking 200 power tiles and you're trying to dodge specific armies. The benefit of Clairvoyance is that it does not start that 15-minute tile reset timer that would normally start if you were to scout with like one command of a tier 1 troop. And when you're scouting with one command of a T1 troop, you only see the first army on that tile. This one will let you see 2 defensive armies that are on a tile without starting that 15-minute timer. So I do think it'll see some use in that case. At ring level 30, we have Abundant Endurance. Lets you take your stamina up to 150 rather than 120. Mind Sharpener is the new word for mock battling. You send an army to engage in mock battling, Mind Sharpener training, and you spend the time and commander stamina as well as ability points to gain EXP. Then you have Considerable EXP, which just increases all EXP gain. I don't know why Dexterity is tied to Mind Sharpener EXP gain. To me, Dexterity is like the ability to do acrobatic stuff, and like Legolas is very dexterous. I don't know why Dexterity ties to your brain, but anyway, Mind Sharpener EXP gain. This will eventually double your Mind Sharpener EXP gain. I imagine this will be very, very important once you take a 260 or 300 power tile and you start mock battling. Mind Sharpenering. I'm not really a fan of the new name. And of course, we have the always wonderful Powerful Sweeping, plus 10% damage at 10 points to non-player armies. This will definitely be a skill that I take to 10 of 10, probably as soon as I unlock this skill tree. I'll probably put 1 point into there, 10 points into there, and 10 points into there. And in the bottom left, we have Military Fortifications, which increases fort durability. I really wish that this skill would also increase the number of forts that you can build, as right now there is no skill on the ring that lets you build extra forts, which means everybody's going to be stuck at 10 forts for the entire season. And for the mid and late game, that is not a lot of forts. I really hope that they will add next level fort durability plus 10,000 and plus 1 fort capacity, or whatever you want to call it. Another thing to note is you cannot quick march or long march in the beginning of seasons anymore. You unlock those abilities after you hit ring level 50 by putting point into each of these skills. We still have Abundant Alacrity, which lets your march speed be increased. This will also slightly increase how quickly reinforcements get to your armies, as the reinforcement time is based on your army's march speed. Fun little fact there. And Abundant Force, conscription and hiring time is reduced. This will definitely be a must-have in the mid and late game as PvP wars start breaking out, and it becomes important to get as many troops as possible in as little time as possible. Overall, in my opinion, I'm not a huge fan of the ring changes because I think that it removes a lot of interesting player choice from the early game. Now, for some people, that might be a better way of doing it because maybe they don't like to sit around and make spreadsheets and do math and min-max things. But like in the early game, you're just going to be putting points into here because you have to. There's nothing else to invest in. I'm probably not even going to put a point in extract because you cannot get it back out. Please keep that in mind. And I don't think extraction is going to be useful. Time out of time might be useful. Abundant Might, that's actually a pretty good one. And Abundant Wisdom is a pretty good one as well. However, I'll put points in here just for the early game, and then I'm going to pull those points out pretty much as soon as I'm able. Obviously, take dominance every single time you can take it. Once I do hit ring level 10, I'm going to be cranking points into enormous power. I probably should say dumping points. Dumping points into enormous power, as well as putting 1 point in gather, because in the early game, I use every single ability point that I get on gathering because you're usually really resource starved in the early game of this game. The thing that I don't like about this change is there was actually a very interesting dynamic between putting points into Harvest, which was the skill that increased the amount that you gathered every time you gathered, versus putting points into Levy, which increased how much your tributes gave you. And there's some nitty-gritty math that I've covered in other videos, and after a certain point, actually Levy gives you more resources than the combination of Control, which is now enormous power, as well as Harvest. So for 10 points in Levy, you could get more resources per day than if you had 10 points in Control and 10 points. I'm clicking on Gather just because There is no more gathering yield one, but pretend it's gathering yield. However, in order to do that, it required you to upgrade your tributes to around level 14 or 15. So there was some trade-off between saving ring points but investing in your tributes early. I thought that was an interesting choice. That's just gone now, so I'm not even going to bother with my tributes past whatever you have to in order to get your chapter objectives completed. Powerful Sweeping is still an absolutely no-brainer amazing skill. As soon as I unlock this skill tree, I'm probably going to reset again so that I can put 10 points into Powerful Sweeping. And then finally, these skill points, they're kind of unexciting except for Abundant Force. However, with Abundant Force, that's more of a mid to late game ring skill anyways. So, by that time, you're going to have plenty of extra points. You're probably going to already have maxed Enormous Power. You're going to have your point in Gather. Maybe you take Clairvoyance early on to scout 200s. I'll probably just poke them with 1 command worth of T1 troops and just go from there. Abundant Endurance is still going to be very good. Powerful Sweeping, very good. Yeah, overall, I just feel like there are way less skills now to invest points into. Way more of those skills do not reset when you reset your ring. And it's just a bit too straightforward and streamlined in my opinion. I think it's pretty much a no-brainer to max out Dominance, then pop over to Enormous Power, pick up Gathering as soon as you can, fully max out Powerful Sweeping, and then come back down for Abundant Force. And then whenever you do take a 260 or 300, you can dump points into Dexterity, which really should be like Improved Mind Sharpener or something. But, anyway, put points into Dexterity only once you're ready to start mock battling, just like you would have if you were with the old mock battling system, where you kind of respec into the yield and I forget the name of it, efficiency. I think it was efficiency, yield, and then whatever the grain cost one was. The big difference is that when you respec into mock battling points, that was anywhere from 20 to 30 points that you'd be investing into mock battling. Now it's 10 points because you're going to have to take Mind Sharpener anyway. So yeah, overall, I'm a bit disappointed, and I hope they add more skills on each of these branches or even brand new branches to the ring. That way there's a bit more player choice going on. That's it for this video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Catch you in the next one. Phoenix, over and out.